welcome to the Mysterious Adventures Podcast. I am your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Mysterious Adventures is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps, and I thank each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. As well, today we're outside with the fire pit, or you could say like a campfire, but it's fire pit in this case, because this is a fire pit or campfire type of episode, considering it's a little bit, different. It's different. It's interesting. It's mysterious. It's a mysterious adventure. It's the real thing. And also, I'm very happy to be back a little quicker this time around because this very much caught my eye this past week, and it's something I absolutely thought it's like, let's just get into it right away. And my buddy Kyle at work was like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good one. And it's a nice question for everybody as we sit around the campfire here for Mysterious Adventures, as we're back on the adventure once again today. Who were the Green Children of Woolpit? Who were they indeed? Well, we're here to talk about it. History Defined, an article by Carl Seaver. I would like to cite my sources. I think it's only fair and I think it's only honest. I wonder if other podcasts do that sometimes when they come up with stuff like this. But I think it's better to cite your sources. Carl Seaver, thank you. This was last updated January 25th, 2023. At the end of the day, well, he was talking about how the medieval world was full of tales of supernatural and magical occurrences. Many of these stories were later collected by antiquarians in the 8th and 19th centuries, individuals like the Brothers of Grimm and Hans Christian Andersen, each of which collected and recorded these centuries-old folklore tales before their memory was forgotten entirely. So, obviously, again, some of this conversation is pretty darn fascinating. But they're talking about how sometimes we're presented with a story that transcends the lines between folklore and history, such is the case of the Green Children of Woolpit. The Green Children of Woolpit were two children, a boy and a girl, brother and sister. They were discovered at Woolpit near Bury St. Edmunds in Suffolk in eastern England around 1150. So that's how far back we're going at the end of the day. 1150. According to accounts provided by two contemporary historians, William of Newborough in his Historia Rerum Angelicarum and Ralph of Coggeshall in his Chroniclum Aganorum, the two children were discovered by locals of Woolpit who were struck by the greenish color of the two children's skin. They also spoke language that they could not understand. They seemingly had no names to communicate to those who had found them. But it got stranger still, for after a certain period, once they had adjusted to their new surroundings and could communicate with the English locals, the girl explained that they had come from an underground world inhabited by green people called St. Martin's Land. Let me jump in. I swear that there's a Garfield episode like this. Where is it? Garfield was waiting for his picnic lunch. They were out in the park. Garfield, John, Odie, all them were out for their picnic lunch. And then all of a sudden Garfield fell into a tree, kind of like he kind of pushed his hand against the tree and then fell in. And it went underground to a city of green people. Where in that game, or in that episode, that cartoon, they ate money and food was money. Food was money and they ate physical money down there. It was like the opposite kind of effect. It was really weird. But it was a kind of a cute idea. And throughout that episode, the song Green Sleeves was played. Green Sleeves, which is also like, what child is this at Christmas time? So thought I would mention that. Anyhow, continuing. One could be forgotten for simply dismissing this story as a legendary fable. Indeed, there is major argument that the tale of the Green Children of Woolpit is simply a piece of Anglo-Saxon folklore carried through to the 12th century. but there is substantial evidence to suggest that this incident occurred. Wow. These two individuals who wrote about it, William Newborough and Ralph of Coggeshall, were contemporaries of these events who lived in the 12th century. Thus, they were writing when these events were fresh in the memory rather than reciting a folktale they had heard. Moreover, Ralph of Coggeshall was the abbot of Cistercian monastery just over 40 kilometers from Woolpit. As such, he was reporting on occurrences in his region and would doubtlessly have been acquainted with individuals who had direct first-hand experience of the children and their strange appearance in Suffolk. Where did the green children of Woolpit come from? So if we allow that two children did indeed suddenly appear at Woolpit in the mid-12th century, bearing a greenish hue and speaking a foreign tongue, then how might we explain their surprise arrival there? It's a good question. More importantly, why were they speaking an unknown language, and why was their skin green? One theory to explain this is that the children suffered from arsenic poisoning. In this interpretation, the children had been left at Woolpit in a forest by their minders to die. Arsenic poison will alter an individual's skin tone, and high toxicity will cause delirium, which would account for the children speaking effectively gibberish rather than their alien language. Interesting. Than an alien language, anyway. Another plausible medical theory holds that the boy and girl were suffering from chlorosis, a type of iron deficiency brought on by the kind of malnutrition that was common in medieval times. That's okay. This can lead to sufferers developing a greenish complexion and cannot be ruled out. However, while these medieval theories are plausible, these medical theories anyway are plausible, medieval too, they do not explain every aspect of the appearance of the children and what they subsequently said about coming from the underworld. But one other theory does offer a plausible explanation for everything. Interesting. Were the green children of Woolpit simply immigrants? Okay. This holds that the green children of Woolpit were related to some immigrants who had arrived in England in the 12th century from the part of the Low Countries then known as Flanders, not like Ned Flanders, right? Hi hiddly ho neighbor, and which now approximates the northern part of Belgium. Belgium's green? Just kidding. Flemish immigrants like these were persecuted in England as they arrived there in considerable numbers in the first half of the 12th century. As a result, the children's parents were possibly killed, leaving them alone in a strange land speaking a foreign tongue. Their later description of coming from an underworld was a statement that they subsequently made in trying to explain they had come from the south. The green hue to their skin was mostly from malnourishment. Most likely from malnourishment. This would certainly explain while their skin color was said to have improved in the following weeks after the Suffolk community they were living in began feeding them properly rather than subsisting on broad beans, and the children claimed to have been doing their before the discovery. So there we have it. The most likely explanation is that the green children of Woolpit were two malnutrition children from Flanders who spoke Flemish rather than an alien language. Whatever the origin of the children, we do not know what happened subsequently. The boy sadly seems to have died shortly after the pair had been taken into a household of a local squire called Richard del Calin. However, the girl was acclaimed to have new surroundings and was baptized. Well, praise the Lord. She is probably synonymous with Agnes Barry, who was later living in the region and had married a man at King's Lynn. However, it is difficult to be sure, as with so much else concerning the mysterious green children of Woolpit. So he's also citing his sources. We appreciate that. So interesting story, the children of Woolpit. So it sounds like more like malnutrition was the more likely the cause. Yet at the same time, I mean, it can always make you wonder, like, what the heck was this all about? Was it some kind of demonic possession? Were they half dead? But luckily, it sounds like they probably were okay. They were normal people. They just were coming from the underworld. We came from below, but it's almost like, how do they even know, depending on their age and such. But the fact that they were okay, they were brought in, that's good news. But so this is kind of like a Dusty Tome type of episode. So if you happen to listen to a podcast called Haunted Cosmos, this is very similar to a Dusty Tome type of episode, a kind of a short story that was interesting, and a lot of theories that came up that, it could be, it was a mysterious adventure. Like, where did they come from? Why did they look like that? And why were they speaking in, some strange alien type language? But at the end of the day, it probably had to do with malnutrition. It had to do with, again, I'm coming from the South, not the underworld. But after later on, again, you get theories, you get little tales that can come from it. Like they even put into Garfield, like they were underground and they were green and they ate money, and food was money. As weird as that was, like say it was Italian food was spent as money, and physical money, paper money, was eaten as food. It was like the opposite. It was really weird, but it was kind of an interesting episode in Garfield and Friends many years ago that I did enjoy very, very much. Fun little story I thought I would bring to you today. I hope you did enjoy it. I did. I think it's kind of cool. You're always wondering if it's going to be something even weirder or creepier, but it was still kind of weird, kind of interesting, and I've certainly never seen somebody with green skin. And a lot of times when you associate green skin with a human being, it often means they're dead. But apparently malnutrition can do that as well. And luckily, they were okay. At least one of them. The girl was okay. The boy, unfortunately, did not live too long afterward. Maybe his malnutrition was too much, and he ended up passing away. But fascinating, there's a story like that goes back that far. And it also tells you just how doggone old, jolly old England truly is. But it still pales in comparison to biblical stories, which we will be definitely getting into more and more and more here on Mysterious Adventures. So at the end of the day, I can't thank you enough. If you want to help with this show, like a donation, give, send, go, there's a link in the in the show description. You're more than welcome to do that. If you choose not to, it's a 1,000% okay. I'm not expecting donations from anybody, but if you'd like to, that would be wonderful. It'd help maybe get some better and better equipment. Maybe actually make like a real, maybe make more of a somewhat of a studio, more than just kind of the most basic thing I could possibly have, a laptop and a microphone, or using my smart device outside as a digital recorder, which it does a great job of, honestly, as far as I'm concerned. Even the last phone did as well. So I really appreciate being able to do this. This type of technology wasn't so great not even that long ago, but the last 3-4 years, it's been wonderful. So thank you, Samsung, for that. Shout out to them, right? Free plug. I tried it with an Apple device not too long ago. It didn't sound as good. That was one of my old Freedom of Thought episodes. I was like, that sounded kind of crappy in comparison. So Apple isn't always the best. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It kind of depends on what it is, I guess, at the end of the day. But there I go. Now I'm not trying to offend Apple people. Thank you, Apple Podcasts, and thank you so much for those of you that happen to use iPhones that listen to the show and love it. It's a great device to certainly listen to the show, and I agree with that. I tend to use Apple for listening to the show, and then maybe Samsung for production if need be, if I'm outside. And it's fun to be able to do podcasts mobile like this at the end of the day. Now I'm going on and on and on, and I apologize. But please do share this show with your friends if you could. It would be greatly appreciated. I hope you enjoy this show, and you could encourage your friends to also subscribe and listen and share it with their friends. That'd be greatly appreciated. Put a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Spotify or any other app that allows you to do so, and put a positive review if you'd like to do that. And those of you that may have done that, thank you a million times. With all of that said, thank you so much. And we'll probably be back hopefully sooner than later. It's fun to get these out, maybe some short stories and maybe some longer stuff. Some longer, more detailed, and a lot more going on, which would be a lot of fun as well, because there's definitely room for that here on Mysterious Adventures. Join me on the next adventure. Can't wait.